everybody. I'm Melissa Banczak, and welcome to episode 49 of Books Cubed, the show where I chat with the indie authors that you should be reading. It is Thursday, December 5th, 2017. Oh my God. No, it isn't. It's 2019. Okay, I've been sick. So I missed last week because I was coughing so much I could not record my show. But anyway, here I am. I'm alive, sort of. And the books came in. If you listened 2 weeks ago, we had 3 authors on. I had my co-author, Lisa Mahoney, on with me, and we had 3 authors on doing writing prompts. We have a new series, Lisa and I, called Roller Prompt Writing Journals. And these are really cool. You roll dice to get writing prompts, and there's over 6,000 combinations in each book. And there's pages to write on inside, so you can use it as a journal. And like if you write flash fiction, it's usually around 1 to 300 words, and you have just enough room that you could write a whole story on each one of these pages. So I think there's 150 total pages, empty pages in there to write, and you can carry it around just like a journal. And we've got each cover has a different color and a different genre. We've got mystery and horror and sci-fi and romance and fantasy and a genre mashup. So those books are in. I'm really excited because we were waiting for them. They took a little longer to arrive than I thought they would. So this week on the show, I have got chapter 7 of the audiobook for my novel, How to Sex Your Snake. And if you want to go back and listen to chapters 1 through 6, you could stop this and go back, and I will put in the show notes what episodes that you need to go to hear those, because offhand, I have no clue. But if you just want to keep listening, you can listen to chapter 7, and maybe you want to go back and listen. And then to get the whole book with all the chapters, you need to click on the link in the show notes, and that will take you to where the audiobook is sold. And I think it's in a lot of places. And also, if you listen to episode 46, that was 3-4 weeks ago, John Patten was on talking about his series, his Titus series, and we talked about his first novel, Miami Burn, and it is now out in audiobook. So I was really excited to hear that. And if you are not a member of Audible, put a note leave a comment and let us know if you are not a member of Audible, and I will draw a name and give you a code, and you can get like 30 days free, and you can get his book free. And if you don't want to continue with Audible, you can just cancel. Don't forget, make sure you mark in your calendar, because I've done that before, where I've done 30 days free, and then like 3 years later gone, uh-oh, I don't know if I ever canceled that. So it's always good to make little comments in your calendars. And with Google Calendar and all that, Gmail and stuff, you can find your calendar pretty much anywhere, and it will remind you about things, which is really good. Okay, so before I start coughing, I'm going to go ahead and get right to the chapter today. It is read by Rosie Zvitek, who does a great job as the voice of June Nash. And have a listen. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you after.
Chapter 7. It was a little before 9 when I pulled up to the sheriff's station. I parked beside a faded old school bus that was hogging most of the spots, and then jogged across the street and down 1 block to Millsy's. Between the clinic and the snake, I'd killed more time than I'd intended. If Mom was at all irked about my disappearing act, it would be best to show up with reinforcements, which in her case was a bottle of watermelon water and a double order of Alvaro's extremely disgusting pumpkin pickle poppers. Think jalapeno poppers, but with tequila-soaked dill pickles and wasabi. My mom certainly had an iron stomach, 'cause these babies were guaranteed to ensure the same results as an afternoon of snake hunting with HAH. I'd been about 90 minutes, so chances were really good that Warren had figured out what he needed to figure out, and Mom and Dewey were long gone. Myra would give me the all clear, and I could still get home in time to be one drink away from passing out in the hot tub before midnight. Tomorrow I'd think about what might have happened to Morgan. Until then, everything just had to be about Dewey. I pulled open the heavy wooden door of the sheriff's office, expecting to see Myra lean back in her chair, cock an eyebrow, and comment about my swim with Moby Dick. Instead, I waded into a sea of noisy chaos decked out in studded black leather and silver chains. The waiting area for the Horseshoe Bend Sheriff's Department was jam-packed with metalheads in varying degrees of injury. Black eyes, split lips, slinged arms. From the look of things, it had been a colossal fight, which explained the bus. Beyond reception, the bloodier individuals were scattered around the 4 squad room desks where 2 deputies were trying to get statements and another 2 were trying to stop an argument without bashing in heads. If Dewey was in a holding cell and any of these people joined him, our little secret was over. When my brother was nervous, he got chatty, and I could see him walking someone through the afternoon's events. Warren had promised to be discreet, but I needed Myra to tell me that if Dewey wasn't long gone, he was at least somewhere out of sight. I gave half a thought to slipping around through the back door, but that involved getting past a keypad that I knew Warren changed on a regular basis, so I pushed on ahead. When I'd finally woven my way to the reception desk, the face that popped up from behind Myra's computer wasn't Myra. She might have been my age, but it was hard to tell. Heavy black liner circled her eyes, and a diamond-shaped burst of blue in her jet-black hair matched her lips. The rest of her outfit mimicked the crowd, though she was the only one in the room who appeared to be blood-free. "Hang on!" She raised a hand covered in heavy silver rings and turned her attention back to the phone cradled on her shoulder. None of the deputies seemed to care that she was in Myra's chair, or that she had Myra's reading glasses propped on her nose. I squinted my eyes to make sure she wasn't really Myra in disguise. "Line's back there." A metalhead leaned into my personal space and jerked a thumb at the crowd behind us. I considered ignoring him and simply climbing over the little swinging gate that separated reception from the deputies, but after my run-in with the snake, I wasn't sure my knees would cooperate. Since there was no way I was waiting in line, I lifted a bag of poppers and the guy's nostrils did a little dance. "Trade ya," I offered. The grumbler didn't wait to be asked twice, and I felt a pang of regret as I watched Mom's peace offering disappear into the crowd. With a sigh, I turned back to fake Myra. "Unless there's an outstanding warrant, Chief's orders are to turn him loose." She grabbed a pen and paper. "How do you spell that?" The grumbler reappeared. His mouth was too full to ask, so he just pointed at the watermelon water that I'd set on the counter. I shrugged. It wouldn't be the same by itself. He grinned and then melted back into the crowd. I turned back as fake Myra rolled the desk chair over to the message cubbies and slid a note into one of the slots. "Where's Myra?" I asked when she'd returned. She leaned back in her chair, wiggled a finger at my head, and delivered a spot-on imitation of the station's receptionist. "I'm loving what's going on there." I'd never had anyone compliment my hair before, much less the real Myra. How much stranger could this day get? "Hang on." Fake Myra held up a hand and then dove into an oversized satchel that was hanging from the back of the chair. She dug around for a bit and then took my hands and slipped something between them. "That one's still in the testing phase. Let me know what you think." I looked down at my cupped palms and realized I was cradling one of those little bottles of booze that cost $10 from the hotel minibar. This one had no label and was filled with a clear liquid. As I turned it over in my hands, I thought I heard her say something about radishes. When I looked up, she was back on the phone. "Horseshoe Bend Sheriff Station. Really? It'll probably just fly away if you leave it." After a long pause, she choked back a laugh and held the phone to her chest. "There's some kind of bird in her yard, and it keeps screaming, 'I'm so screwed, I'm so screwed,' at the top of its lungs. Apparently she's afraid this will scar her innocent grandchildren." She scoffed and rolled her eyes. I can hear the little thugs in the background playing Grand Theft Auto. Well, that sounded more like Myra. She put the phone back to her ear. Yep, if I had kids and they heard that, let me give you the number for animal control. She cradled the phone again and spun Myra's Rolodex. As entertaining as my new friend fake Myra was, I could see that standing here was going to get me nowhere. I dropped the bottle into my purse, wove back through the crowd, and took the stairs to the second floor. Most of the government offices for Horseshoe Bend had been housed in the upper levels of the building since a fire gutted the city hall in the early 90s. There'd been plans to rebuild, but over time everybody had decided that this was just easier. As I passed the darkened animal control office, I could hear a phone ring. At the end of the corridor, I took the stairs back down to the first floor and emerged into the dimly lit alcove. I turned away from the exit to the street and considered the forest green door with the words "Authorized personnel only" stenciled across the center in red block letters. I stepped up to the keypad I needed to get past. As kids, Dewey and I had spent plenty of time wandering these halls whenever Mom worked a double shift and her coffee buddy was playing babysitter, so I knew that the old sheriff changed the 6-digit passcode once a week. If Warren had kept up that tradition, that was a lot of numbers to memorize. Chances were good that he was like everybody else in the world and just had a few favorites that he rotated regularly. Maybe some would even be from the old days. All I had to do was start typing in combinations that I remembered, and if I was lucky, I'd eventually hit on the right one. My index finger hovered over the keypad, and I glanced up at the video camera positioned near the ceiling. Did an alarm go off if you were wrong too many times? I curled my left hand into a fist and knocked. It took about 5 minutes of pounding on the door before Myra appeared. Smart girl coming this way. It's crazy in reception. I squinted just to make sure it was really her. It was. What's going on? I asked. La leche celestial. You should have been here for the hoedown. It's short of impossible to book drunks when they won't stop line dancing. I had no idea what La Leche whatever was, but she didn't give me a chance to ask. Would you get in here, June, before someone sees you? I didn't tell her about my first stop at reception. It was nice being the smart one for a change.
Okay, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed that, you can go back and listen to chapters 1 through 6 if you didn't do that first. And if you want more, I will have a link in the show notes where you can buy the Audible book for How to Sex Your Snake. And the sequel will be out soon. I really am nearing an end for it. I'm I am really, I am. It's just a few chapters left, and it's a first draft of everything. So it will be soon. It will be soon. And so go ahead and leave a comment if you enjoyed today's show. If you know a book that I should read, please let me know, even if it's yours. Go ahead and leave me a comment, and I will get to those. If you are listening on the podcast, you want to go down to the show notes and click the link for the homepage for Books Cubed. And if you're on YouTube watching on the video, then you know what to do, and I'll find it. So I will see you next time. I have got an interview for next week with Kayla, who was on 2 weeks ago on the Writing Prompt Show it was episode 48, and she writes romance. We're going to be chatting about her books, and we'll find out if she wrote any more for that writing prompt that she did last week, because she said, or 2 weeks ago, 'cause she said it was a pretty good start, and she was kind of excited about that. So we'll see if anything more has come of that. And in the meantime, go read a good book.